Hello, my friend, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we are going to talk about how to plan and post to social media straight from Notion. How do we plan and post our social media content straight from Notion? Hi, my name is Ellyn. If you are new here, welcome. If you are not, welcome back. And today that is exactly what we're going to talk about, because I feel like I see a lot of things out there about how we can use content calendars and plan our social media inside of Notion. But what about the posting part? For most of us, what we probably end up doing is moving like our Instagram stuff into Planoly, or moving our, all of our other social media maybe into like a Buffer or a Loonly. I know there's a ton of different posting platforms we can use out there now. But what about if we want to be able to plan and post straight from Notion? Is that possible? And I'm here today to tell you, yes, it is. I'm going to be introducing you today to my favorite third-party Notion extension, NotionSocial. This is a Notion extension that allows you to not only plan, but post directly from your Notion content calendar and even pull in your analytics. I'm going to be walking you through how to set this up, some of my best practices for actually leveraging the information that is inside of there, and basically everything you need to know, from posting on Pinterest to how do we post a carousel, so on and so forth. This is going to be your one-stop shop for how do we plan and post from Notion, how do we use NotionSocial, how do we set up NotionSocial. We're going to go over all of it inside of this video. Before we get into it though, I have a link down below. So if you do not have a NotionSocial account, go ahead and go down to the description, check out that link so that you can set up your NotionSocial account. Full transparency, it is an affiliate link, but if this is adding value to you, that is a great way for you to give back to this channel, to say thank you for helping you out. So with that, go ahead and access that link down below, open up your NotionSocial account, and then I will show you how to set it up from start to finish. Let's do it. All right, my friends, we are inside of NotionSocial. Let's go ahead and get into it. And first and foremost, we are going to talk about the first two tabs we've got happening over here, okay? You can really do these in either order. I think I just did them in order when I set them up. But the first thing we want to do is we want to link our social accounts. Now, on the primary plan, which is $25 a month, so full transparency from the get-go, this is not free, but I personally have found this is probably one of the most valuable $25 a month I spend, because it just makes the social media marketing side of my business so much easier. So you're going to go in and you're going to set up your social accounts. There is a limit of 10 social accounts that you can use, and also a limit of 5 Notion databases. Personally, I only have one Notion database I connect, that is my content calendar for everything, but you can connect up to 5 Notion databases to this system, okay? So you're gonna go in, you're gonna click add, and you can see all of the main social media platforms this works with. Instagram, Facebook pages. You cannot post to Facebook groups. Ever since they removed the API from Facebook groups, they kind of screwed us all over with that. So we still can't post to Facebook groups with this, but you can post to Facebook pages, Twitter, now X, which I love that none of us really call it Twitter, LinkedIn, your personal pages or your company pages. So that's the two different options here. This one is the personal page. This is the company page. You can post to Pinterest, you can post to YouTube, TikTok, Threads, and they recently launched Blue Sky inside of here as well. So all of these are social accounts that you can post to. So you're going to want to start by setting all of these up. All right, so that is your first step. I will say that once you get them all set up, occasionally you will have to refresh the connection. I just had to refresh my Threads connection earlier today. So occasionally you will get emails from the platform telling them that you need to refresh your connection, but that is how you're going to get started. And then what you're going to do is you're going to come down here to your Notion database. Okay, so you're just going to say add, and then you can connect an existing database, or you can start fresh with a template. If you have not been using Notion at all as a content management system, I would probably say start fresh with the template, because what this is going to do is it's going to pre-configure all of the properties that you need inside of your system to work with NotionSocial. If you connect an existing database, what you're going to have to do is firstly click got it, continue. You're going to have to go into your Notion and designate which of your databases you want to connect it to. And again, it'll prompt you again. You can use a template provided by the developer, or you can select pages to share. If you're working off of an existing content calendar, you're going to want to click select pages, and then you're going to want to designate the content calendar that you want. So you're going to want to say allow access at this point. All right. So that is going to be our first couple steps here. I'm going to go ahead and go back because I already have mine connected, so we don't really need to do this. Now, once we've got it connected to your Notion database, and you're going to go ahead and click manage. And again, this is where the functionality of the system is going to really, really start to kind of break itself down. Now, if you ever have issues with your NotionSocial connecting to your content database, it seems like things aren't updated, maybe you've made some changes to your content calendar database, anything like that, you're going to just want to click this reconnect button. And as they say in the video on the page here, it's going to reconnect to the database to sync it correctly with NotionSocial. So I've only ever found that I needed to do that when I made overarching updates to the database that weren't being reflected in NotionSocial. Usually NotionSocial is pretty good about catching those updates, but sometimes if you're on NotionSocial too quickly after making an update, you'll have to go in and prompt it to refresh itself. So we're going to start up here with configuring the property names. First and foremost is our status property. Now, when you connect NotionSocial to your account, if you already had an existing status property, it is going to change it to a select property. This does not work with the typical Notion status property. It has to be a select property here. So for us, you're going to go in and you're going to designate which of these properties are you going to use to designate the status of your post. So to give you a feel for what this looks like, this is my status property here, and I basically am saying what status I am at inside of my content planning process. Is it an idea? Is it something I planned? Am I currently scripting or developing it? You know, when I have something that I've saved inside of my drafts, inside of like Instagram, for example, I will designate it in drafts. So these are kind of the different properties that I have inside of my status property. So what you're going to do over here is you are going to say, okay, which property am I going to use in my Notion database to designate the status? Then you want to tell it what status are you going to use when the post is ready to be scheduled. So once I have designated a post in my system as being done, that tells NotionSocial, hey, this post is ready to be scheduled. All right. So I use the done property. You could use whatever you want. I think this is what NotionSocial defaulted to when I initially set this up. So once this social media post is ready, I'm going to go under status and I'm going to change it to done, and it is going to schedule the post for me. So that's kind of how the post status property works. Next, we need to designate what we're posting, when we're posting it, and where we're posting it. That is the next few properties. The media property is the property that you are going to use to upload your pictures, your videos, whatever. If you're only sharing text, like to Threads or something, you leave the media property blank. So I just called mine media. So I'm going to upload images to post to Instagram, videos to post to TikTok or YouTube Shorts or Reels. All of those are going to get uploaded under the media property. Inside of my actual Notion system, it's this property right here. And I even gave a little info where I say upload the images/video for the post here. Next is the time property. So this is where you're going to designate not only when you're posting it, like what day, but what time you are posting it. Now the time is really, really important, okay? You need to firstly set a future time, which that might seem logical, but it's worth saying. You need to set a future time, and you can't just set a date, you have to designate a time. And it is going to operate from your time zone, okay? If you have already designated a time, so like let's say for example, I'm gonna go to a post that I've already scheduled for next week. If I had already scheduled this time and I decided, I don't wanna post it at 8 a.m., I wanna post it at noon, once you connect your content calendar to NotionSocial, it is going to create a NotionSocial property. And as you can see here under the information, it is something that is used by NotionSocial to show information about the post. If there was an error, whatever. Anytime you need to update the time of an already scheduled post, you are going to go in and you are going to delete everything that is inside of this property. That is what we would do if we needed to reschedule the post. So you're going to designate your time property, and then you're going to go in and you're going to indicate what social accounts you want this to post to. Really cool thing about NotionSocial is this is a multi-select property. So you can select multiple social accounts where you want something to be posted. Now, if we look over at this example that I'm showing you here, you'll see I have duplicate versions of this. The reason I do that is because personally, I want to keep track of how the content is performing on the different platforms. So it's going to pull in the different analytics from Instagram, from TikTok, and from YouTube. It's going to pull all of those analytics in separately. I could, however, post this exact same thing on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, anywhere I would post video, on LinkedIn, literally anywhere, on Pinterest. I could post this anywhere I wanted from this exact same post. I separate them so that I can keep the analytics separate. So that is the social accounts. Then we have our NotionSocial property. This is the one I showed you just a second ago. This is the property that's going to show the publication status, if it's published, if it's scheduled, any errors that happen. NotionSocial also emails you if there's an error. Like I had a random Instagram error last week. It posted on YouTube and TikTok just fine, but on Instagram it gave me an error. Then our caption property. So the caption, as it indicates here, is where you're going to type the caption directly on the Notion page. And then the text from this is going to post to your social media accounts. So again, here is my caption property, and I really use this to format it exactly how I want it to appear when it posts to my account. So these are the core properties that you're going to need. And once you've gone in and designated them, you'll want to save it. Now it does have a note down here. If you change these property names in Notion, it is really important that you refresh them in NotionSocial. If you don't, it's going to mess things up. So really make sure that you are refreshing anytime you make changes to your system. I honestly, once I've set it up, have made very minimal changes, and I recommend that you do the same. So we're going to click save here. I haven't changed anything, but I'll go ahead and click save anyway. And now we're going to go down into some of these other sections. Post configuration. So firstly, video cover /thumbnail. This is one of the recent updates they made. You can either upload your media as a thumbnail into just the media property, or you can use a specific property for the thumbnail. Let me show you what I mean. If we go into this example post that I've been using, you'll see here I have got a media clip. This is actually a clip that I pulled from Riverside, and I have an image here. Now, personally, how I do it is I just upload them to the same media property, and when I designate this as a reel or a short or a TikTok, it pulls this in as the thumbnail and this in as the media clip. Okay, so I personally do it by just uploading them into the same media property, but if it makes more sense to you, you can separate them into two separate properties. That would be by clicking this option down here. So the next thing is designating your format. So for example, you can see here, if I want to post a video as a reel on Facebook, I need to tell them what I'm going to designate the format as. I use reel/short/TikTok as a catch-all for all of my short form video. So if I want to post it as a reel on Facebook, I am going to use the format of reel/short/TikTok. You can also post a story, which is a really, really cool feature in my opinion on NotionSocial. So I'm going to call that Instagram story. Same thing for Instagram. You're going to go through and designate the same thing. You're going to set the format for the reel. You're going to set the format for the story. And actually, I, as of recently, haven't been using tagging, but you can tag as well. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to create a new property called user tags. And when I go into that my Notion system, that's going to be there. So I'm going to type in anybody's username that I want if I want to tag them in the post. You can also do collaborators. Obviously, collaborators and tags are slightly different. I use the collaborators property way more, but you can tag users and you can tag collaborators from this. You can also tag location from this. You just have to designate what property you're going to use and sync it to the Notion system. Same thing with Twitter. You can tell it whether you want it to auto split long text into a thread. And then for YouTube, you can also go in and set the privacy. If I'm posting anything on YouTube, I'm posting it publicly, so I don't really use this, but you can create a select property that has those different privacies underneath it. So once you've got all of this set up, you're going to go ahead and click save. I actually do think I've updated some stuff in here, so I should probably do this. So that's all of our post configuration, and then our automations. So the automations that you can set up inside of NotionSocial are, firstly, hashtags. If you want your hashtags to be posted as the first comment, you can designate a hashtags property, and you can say that you want it to publish the hashtags as the first comment here. So inside of my systems, every time I have something, I've got my media, my caption, and then my hashtags are right here. So you can link that and automate that super easily with NotionSocial, and I've never had an issue with this publishing. You can also pull in the post properties. So if you want to keep track of the post URL, so you can super easily find that post from your NotionSocial page, just create a URL property. It will update this 30 minutes after it publishes. It's not instantaneous. And then you can also have some status changes that happen. Personally, what I do is after like we talked about up here, after I tell them, hey, this post is ready, it is done. So after I designate it as done, then what I have it set up to do is it will change it to scheduled after it has scheduled the post. So this is something that I have customized in my system. I want to know the difference between something that I have designated as done and something that NotionSocial has actually scheduled. I also have it change the status property to publish after the post has been published. So these are all automations that happen after a post has been designated as done and after it has been published. Now, the last section in here is the analytics section. This used to be something that is embedded in this configuration, but actually it's something that I've recently separated into an analytics tab. So I mentioned at the beginning of this video, you can keep track of your analytics inside of Notion. And this is how we go ahead and do it. So what this is going to do, if you activate this, it is going to add a whole bunch of different properties to your database: total likes, total comments, total views, etc. You can see when I go inside of my Notion database, you can see all of those different options down here. I've also added in some other ones like percent open, total plays, etc. And what this is going to do is it is going to automatically pull in the likes, comments, views, saves, shares, reposts, etc. from your social media that you are posting. So you don't have to go into Instagram or YouTube or whatever to see the analytics for that particular post, okay? So note that this is not, again, something that happens instantaneously. It updates these metrics every 30 minutes for up to 7 days after posting. So if you have one go viral more than 7 days after posting, it's not necessarily going to capture that. But it's pretty damn convenient considering for most of these different social media platforms, your content is going to get its most engagement within the first 7 days. So that is kind of how this works. Now, there are advanced options inside of here. This is something they recently changed, and it's really up to you on how you want to track your analytics, okay? So under this, I just click show advanced options. You can either have this property show the sum of all of the different places you posted, or you can have it separate them. So you can see the difference here. The sum for all is showing you all of the views, likes, retweets, etc. for all of the selected social media platforms. For the separate for all, it is creating separate properties for how many likes it got on Facebook, how many likes it got on Instagram, how many likes it got on LinkedIn. Now, I showed you a second ago, I like to keep my analytics separate. So I just create separate posts. That's something that I've been doing for months at this point to keep track of the analytics separately. I could easily go in and say separate for all, but personally, I don't like the idea of having that many different properties. So it's up to you how you want to set this up. Sum for all or separate for all. You can also go down here and designate which platforms you actually want to track these analytics on. So that is how we set this up. So that's the whole setup part of the process. Let me show you what it would look like when you actually go about posting, when you go about uploading, and when you go about analytic tracking. So here we are back inside of my content calendar here. And what I've gone ahead and done is I've navigated through which posts I'm kind of already ready to post here. And I have a meme post that I want to post on Friday of this week as I'm recording this. What I usually do when I have a post I want to repurpose is I link that post inside of the body, and then I can just go in and I can use Snap Insta to download it. I've got my hashtags that I'm bringing over. I just downloaded the media, so we're going to go ahead and upload that into here. I'm going to go ahead and go into Canva and create a cover photo. So I'll go ahead and upload this inside of here. When I have it set again to Reel/Short or TikTok, my personal settings are set up so that it will pull this image in as the thumbnail and this as the media for it. And last but not least, I'm going to go ahead and do the caption. I use ChatGPT for this. If you want to know more about how I use ChatGPT for creating captions, let me know. So then I would just go ahead and I would pop this in here. And sometimes I have to do a little bit of reformatting. So once you've got the layout of the caption the way you want, so like I'm happy with the spacing of that, how that looks, I'm happy with my hashtags, then what I'm going to go ahead and do is, again, you got to make sure you have a time associated with it. And then personally, again, like I said, I like to keep track of my different analytics by just posting 3 times. I would rather do that than have like an 80 bajillion different properties. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to make this one post to Instagram. I also really like doing this because sometimes how you're going to do things on Instagram is going to be different than how you're going to do things on TikTok. So everything is set up here how I want it. It's not going to pull anything from the content because I don't have it laid out that way. So this is now done. I'm going to go to this one, and because I'm going to make this one my TikTok one, I don't do the cover photos on TikTok, so I'm going to remove that. My ManyChat is not set up to pull from TikTok. The CTA is going to be different on TikTok than it is going to be on Instagram. So I'll change that. So head to the link in my bio to book a strategy session. Maybe that's how I would do it. Then once I'm happy with it, again, I'll go down to done. So that one's ready to go. And then last but not least, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make one for YouTube. Again, I don't need the cover photo. And on YouTube, I don't generally use hashtags on YouTube. And on YouTube, the caption space is super, super small. So what I'm gonna go ahead and say is comment below and I'll give you the link to book a strategy session. Something like that. So I usually just leave the CTA for YouTube because the caption's so much shorter on YouTube, and then again I go done. And you can actually already see what happened over here. So this one already changed to scheduled. The one on Instagram already changed to scheduled. And when we go actually inside of their properties, the NotionSocial property is going to be updated. So these have already scheduled as we've just been setting up the other one. So that's kind of what it looks like. Now, the final thing I want to show you in terms of how to use this is how we post different types of content on NotionSocial. What I just demonstrated to you is how you would post a reel, for example. You'd have your video component, and then if you're posting on like an Instagram, you'd have your cover photo. But what if we are doing a carousel? Oh, I know, we'll do the one that I did yesterday. So I had something about awards that don't exist. When you're posting a carousel on Instagram, all you need to do is you need to upload multiple photos into it. Carousels on Instagram are super easy. You just upload your photos, and you got to make sure you upload them in the order you want them to post. It doesn't care if you have like a 1, 2, 3, 4. If they're out of order and how you uploaded them, they're going to post out of order. So you're going to upload PNGs to post on Instagram. And for LinkedIn, if you're posting on LinkedIn, how you upload a carousel is you do a PDF. So this is the PDF that I uploaded to LinkedIn. And when you post that on LinkedIn, it is going to post as a carousel, okay? Okay, so the last thing I wanna go ahead and show you is the analytics. I recorded this, but I forgot to change my tab back to sharing this tab. So the content analytics, you can look at it in a lot of different ways. I've set them up in multiple different ways inside of my content creation hub, inside of Notion. So I could go to my content analytics tab and it is gonna literally show me everything. I don't know about you, this is a little overwhelming for me to look at. So what I tend to do when I'm looking at content analytics is I look by platform. So for example, if I go inside of Instagram, I can see my performance over time, total likes, new followers, comments, views, etc. So I kind of peaked in terms of my views in February. And then I can also see my performance over the past 2 months. So again, kind of peaked for likes, followers, and views, but actually recently my comments have been really peaking. So if my goal is engagement right now, I'm doing a damn good job and I need to just keep doing what I'm doing. So I have it set up so I can go in to my different platforms and see them that way. Again, on YouTube, I have to manually put in my long form video content, and clearly I'm doing a fantastic job of doing that, but the analytics come in automatically from the short form video content. And again, I can see I kind of had a couple places where I peaked in terms of my likes and my comments, so I can learn from those. I also have my podcasts in here, long form content, etc., threads. I have all of my different platforms in here, but some of these I do have to go in and do manually, which I do at the start of every month. It's a great way to be able to go in and visualize how is my content performing. That is it. That is how to plan and post straight from your Notion content calendar using NotionSocial. If there are any questions that I didn't get to inside of this video, please let me know. Drop them in the comments below. I'm happy to help. If you were having any issues doing anything that I was setting up, again, let me know. I'm here to help. I want you to be able to take advantage of this tool because it is my favorite tool that is out there. And I really, really want to make sure you're set up right. So if any questions, any follow-ups, anything I didn't get into, or anything about my systems that you want to know how I did, drop the questions in the comments below. But with that, if you enjoy this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all next time. Stay relentless, achievers, and happy content planning.